I'm going to show you how to do an assembly using the puzzle pieces so that you can reference this. Now there's a number of different ways to open up an assembly. You can open up assembly here on the home page. You can go up here to new. You can go to new here. You can go to file new. Either way uh, is works out just fine. Now what I've already done is that if I go here to new, I've already opened up, as you can see down here next to my home, I've already opened up an assembly just because of speed. But there's two different types of assemblies. These are IAMs. That is the extension, and it stands for I, inventor, AM, assembly. All right, there's a standard and a weldment. A weldment, actually, you can take pipes and things in metal and you can put welding joints in there. So we're just going to start off with the standard IAM. All right, I'm going to cancel that. I'm going to go over to the one that I already have open. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to place a piece. Now this should be your back bottom piece. So my back bottom piece is my orange piece. And I'm going to bring that in and I'm just going to click once and I'm going to hit the escape key in the top left corner of my keypad. Now, if yours is not oriented the way that you want it, you can use the view cube and you can reorient it any which way that you would really like. You can go to the front view, you can spin it around, you can pick different corners this way, and you can do that, and then you can go to each corner. So again, you're going to go to that corner, highlight the corner, right click, and you can set the current view as home, and you're going to fit to view. Okay, so that is one way that we're going to do it. Mine already happens to be set up correctly, so I'm going to go ahead and just have that oriented there. I'm then going to, the next thing is that there are 6 degrees of freedom. The X, the Y, the Z axis, the XY plane, the YZ plane, and the XZ plane. Please write those down. Those are going to be tested. And what this means is that this can just spin around however we want to, just all over the place by using our free rotate tool. And it can move up, down, left, right. It doesn't make any difference. I'm going to go back here again. I'm just going to escape out of that tool. So there's 2 different ways to ground this, so to make it so that it doesn't move. And if you don't do this, you're going to have issues later on. So make sure that you ground this part. You can either come over onto the part in the drawing area, right click, and you can ground it here. Or you can come over into the browser bar, highlight the icon, the part 1 icon, and you can ground it here. Either way works. And what you'll see is that the icon in the browser bar has a thumbtack. When you move over to the part, you'll also see that it's tacked down. That means that you cannot move it. Okay, it has lost all 6 degrees of freedom. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is bring in my next piece. So I'm going to place a part, and my next part is going to be the red part, and I'm going to bring that in here. Now, we need to take away all 6 degrees of freedom of this. Right now, it can move around and it can spin around and do whatever is needed to be done with it. So this one comes in very, very easily. And so I'm going to use constraint. Now, we're not going to use join. We're not going to do any of these other ones for now. We're just going to use constraint. And as you can see, if we hover, the hotkey is C. So I'm going to click on constraint, and there's a number of different blocks up here. There's different types of constraint. There's mate, there's angle, there's tangent, there's insert, and there's symmetry. We are only, for this project, going to use mate. Now, mate has 2 different things here. It has a mate. In other words, we can stick a face to a face, or an edge to an edge, or a face to an edge. Or we can use flush, and flush just means that they are even. Okay, notice also that there's an offset. We are going to leave that offset at 0. So I'm going to take this face, and I'm going to say, okay, I want that face to stick to this face. Okay, and I'm going to apply that. Now, if you don't apply that, it will not work. Now, it's really easy from here. I'm going to go up and I'm going to select flush, and I'm going to flush these 2 faces. Notice how they are smooth and flush together. Now you have to apply that. Now notice that these are still offset. So this can go back and forth, but it can't go up and down, and it can't spin round and round. So it only has 1 degree of freedom left. So I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to do a flush with that. And that's it. that now has been taken all 6 degrees of freedom away. So that is set in there. All right. I'm going to take my next piece, is going to be my brown piece, and I'm going to open that and bring that in, and that brown piece is going to go down here. Go in, I'm going to escape, and sometimes you may need to bring in more than one piece. Now, I can free rotate this, the whole thing, the whole puzzle will free rotate this way. I can free rotate the whole puzzle just by grabbing the view cube and rotating it that way. I can also use this to zoom out, zoom in, orient, all that kind of good stuff. So just a couple of ways that you can move things around now, but that's not letting us move this one puzzle piece around. I want to move just the one puzzle piece, because generally speaking, it's much easier if you get things in the way as much as you can. Now inside here, you can see that I've got 2 ellipses. So that means I can spin this around any way I want to. If I come to the outside, I'm only going to do the Z. Notice that the icon changes. If I come to the left or the right, it'll only rotate on the Y. If I come top and bottom, it's only going to rotate on the X. So right now, I'm going to orient this basically the way I want it to get it so that it will fit in there. I'm just going to bring that a little bit more that way. And I'm going to go back to constrain here, and I'm going to constrain this face and this face, and I'm going to apply that, and I'm going to flush these 2 faces and apply that. And then I'm just going to go to the bottom. Notice how I use my view cube just to go to the bottom, and I flush those 2. So notice so far what I've done is 1 mate and 2 flushes. You can also do 2 mates and 1 flush. So let's bring in the next piece. And our next piece is going to be the white piece. And on this white piece, I'll see if I can't do a little bit differently here. So I'm going to rotate this again. I'm going to bring this up, bring this around, because I know where that goes. So I'm going to bring that there and escape. And I'm going to mate this face with this face, and I'm going to apply that. Okay. Now, just because I want to show you how you can move some other things here, I'm going to pull that out a little bit. And I'm going to come over this way, and I'm going to just use my C for the hotkey. And I'm going to do another mate here just to show you. I'm going to rotate this around here, and I'm going to apply that. So there's 2 mates, and then all I have to do is a flush here. So again, all this is going to move back and forth here, and you can see that it kind of ghosts there. If you're confused as to what you have to move around, you can just take away your constraint tool, and then you can come in and just drag and see what's left. So now I'm going to apply that. Now let's say that we come in here and we go, okay, we want to mate this to this and apply that. And it says it can't be done. You can edit the relationship, you can accept the relationship. We don't want to do that. So when it says that, don't do it. You don't want to over constrain what you've got here. Okay, so I'm going to take a break here, and I'm going to put a couple more pieces in just to save time, because I've shown you the ways to do this. So I'm going to take a break, and then I'm going to bring this all together. Okay, so I put the green piece in here just to save, for a matter of saving some time here. I also wanted to show you this other thing. Inventor is very right-click friendly, so I can right-click and I can go place a component from here. So I can right-click, place that component. My yellow piece is the last one that's left. So I'm going to bring that in, and I'm going to drop that. And I'm going to rotate this around to orient it in the direction that it needs to be oriented in. And escape out. And the next thing I'm going to do is come in here. I'm just going to use my hotkey, the C key. I'm going to make these 2 faces together, apply those. I'm going to flush and apply that, and I'm going to flush and apply that. And now when you're done, you can just grab and you can pull and you can see, make sure that everything is done. Now, let's say that you make a mistake. We can go and expand any of these children here. Remember, we talk about expanding the children. And notice that some of these only have the 3 constraints, and some of them have more, because remember that sometimes it depends on how many constraints that you put on one particular thing. But we can come in here and at any time, okay, we can expand those children and we can delete off any of those things here. If I delete off this mate right here, right now, I can now take this and I can lift it up because it still is flush here and here and still flush here and here. So if I make a mistake, I can delete that off. I'm going to come back in here. I'm going to go ahead and remate those. And again, you can see how easy it is to navigate and apply that. And then when I come home, this should be an isometric. If this is not an isometric, generally speaking, what it means is that what you did was you did not ground your first part. One last thing that you have to be careful with, and I'm going to delete these off just for kicks and giggles here. Delete these off. I just right click and delete those off. What you have to be careful of is that if you come in here, you can mate an edge with an edge. And if you apply that mate to the edge, what's going to happen is this thing's going to swing up and down. So those 2 edges are going to be locked in together, all right, which you don't want to do. So just be aware of that when you do this. And we're going to put all those back in. And there we go. Okay. And that is as simple as that. We can hit F6 or we can go to our doghouse and it zooms right in. There's our assembly. Hope you guys enjoyed and it gives you some help.